I've mentioned this a few times in previous videos on an episode of Five Stupid Things from a couple weeks ago, and on a You Had to Ask that I did where someone brought up the topic. But these conspiracy theories about the Sandy Hook shooting last month just keep coming. They won't die, at least here on the internet. The mainstream media has largely ignored them, which is good because they really don't deserve even the amount of attention that I'm about to give them. But there's just something about conspiracy theories in general, and these particular conspiracy theories surrounding the Sandy Hook shooting, that it's impossible to leave alone. I feel compelled to strike at them because they are so cutting to me and to my sense not only of reason and logic and critical thinking, but just my sense of basic decency. Because the thing about the 9/11 conspiracy theories, the 9/11 truth movement, that is so offensive to me is the same thing that the Sandy Hook conspiracy theories have that are so offensive, and that is they're ghoulish. They are absolutely ghoulish because they take something that was a real event, a real tragedy that was unthinkable before it happened, and they reduce them to these petty, narcissistic little theories where you look at this tragic event, and instead of saying, oh my God, what an awful thing, how could this have happened? I feel so bad for the victims. I feel so bad for the families. How can we change our way of doing things maybe to make things better, to keep these sorts of things from happening in the future? Instead of a decent human response like that, you look at 9/11 and you think, oh, that was the Bush administration that did that, so we would have an excuse to go to war with Iraq. Or you look at the Sandy Hook shooting, where 26 people were murdered by a lunatic with a gun, and instead of saying, oh my God, that's so horrible, those poor children, those poor teachers, the families, what are we going to do about this? Instead of saying that, you say, oh, that was probably a false flag operation to provide a pretense for repealing the Second Amendment. I can't express the contempt I have for that. The instinctive, just reflexive contempt that I have for those types of thoughts. To think that someone would actually have that response. And lots of people apparently who have YouTube channels or who have blogs have had that response. Not a lot in terms of the whole population. Like most conspiracy theories, it's a tiny percentage of kooks and weirdos and freaks and idiots and assholes who hold these opinions. But the fact that anybody would, and not just that they would think these things or feel these things, but that they would share them with others and prey on the credulity of others who might not have had that idea to begin with, but without thinking, without knowing what's going on, without having a sense of skepticism or criticism, would hear questions that these Sandy Hook conspiracists are asking, because all they ever do is ask questions. Like, why was Robbie Parker laughing at the press conference? Why doesn't the girl in the Parker family photograph have legs? Why are they doing that with their hands? Was this photoshopped? I mean, people might hear those questions and they will be susceptible to that kind of question, to that kind of insinuation, and they will think, oh my God, man, wow, that does make sense. What if there is something going on? And maybe they won't be bothered by the fact that the people asking these questions, the people making these insinuations, never actually come to a conclusion, never actually make a claim, never actually reach a point with their questions. They just ask the questions, and they act suspicious, and they act like, ooh, we all know what's really going on, but they don't ever say it, because even when they talk amongst themselves, because the video that one of the videos that I've seen about this, about the photograph, the family photo that was supposedly photoshopped because the kids are always sucking their fingers in family pictures, or because the one little girl looks like apparently she doesn't have legs, or the one little girl's hand is in a weird kind of pose so that it looks like she's missing a finger, and the thumb looks weird, and it looks like a devil sign. Oh, well, they never tell you what that means. What does that mean? Tell me what it means if you're a Sandy Hook conspiracy theorist watching this. Because I know some of you are watching my videos. I know some of you are commenting on my shit. If you see this video in one of your feeds, Sandy Hook conspiracy theories, I'm calling you out. What does it mean? Tell me. Leave a comment. Please tell me what it means. And tell me how you know that that's what it means. What does it mean? Was Sandy Hook a false flag operation? Was Sandy Hook staged to provide the Obama administration with a pretense for further gun control, for repealing the Second Amendment? How do you know that? What's your evidence for that? When you say that there were no bodies at Sandy Hook, what is your source for that? And by the way, the internet, as one of you said, is not good enough for a fucking source. And if you'd been to a fucking university and you'd ever had to write a research paper about something, you would know that the internet, just in general, is not a source. Where did you hear that? How do you know that? Where do you get your information from? Where can I go to see the same information? Do you understand? Do you have any semblance of understanding of how the investigative process works, of how science works? Have you heard of the scientific method? Do you know how it works? You don't just ask questions and then demand that people who react dubiously to the question find the answer for themselves. If you have an interest, if you see a problem, if you have something that you want to find out, you ask and then you find out. And then you share it with the rest of us. And you show us the evidence and you show us how we can get the same answer that you got. That's how it works, you fucks. You can't just look at a photograph of a family that now includes a murdered child and say, oh, look, she's making devil signs with her hand. Oh, look at her thumb looks fucked up. Oh, it looks like she doesn't have legs. Why are the kids always sucking on their fingers when they're in front of the cameras? What are you trying to say? What the fuck are you trying to say? Just make your claim. Make your insane claim. If you had any balls on your fucking body, if you had any guts, if you had an ounce of integrity and courage and intellectual honesty in you, you would make a claim. You would make a claim and you would present your evidence so it could be tested and it could be followed up by others and your claim could be verified or rejected. I notice that you hardly ever do that. All of you motherfuckers, not just the Sandy Hook conspiracists, but the 9/11 truthers, the chemtrail people, the people always bitching about HARP or crop circles or alien abductions, or name your fucking delusional Alex Jones InfoWars coast-to-coast AM bullshit. Pick one. You never make claims. You ask questions. You point to things that don't look right. You point out what you perceive in your fucking appalling ignorance to be inconsistencies or weird coincidences that need an explanation. But you never offer any explanation, do you? You never make a claim that can be refuted or verified. No, you just ask questions. And then when those of us who actually have a fucking brain in our heads that we know how to fucking use point out to you that your questions are kind of stupid or that you never actually provide even an avenue to find the answer to the question, you react like it's our fault. Like it's our job to answer your fucking ridiculous questions. And not only answer the questions, but make sure that the answers line up with your warped worldview. Because guess what, guys? The answers to the questions about 9/11 have already been discovered. We've answered the questions. We know why the towers fell. We know who did the attacks. We know what happened to Building 7. We know what happened at the Pentagon. We know where the planes went. We know where the passengers are. They're all fucking dead. We know that. We've established it. We have answered the questions. And the problem is you don't accept the answers. It's not that nobody wants to answer your questions. It's that they've been answered. And you refuse to accept the answer because you are too cowardly and stupid to accept that the truth is different from what your preconception of it was. That the world does not work the way you think in your fucking warped, dark, paranoid, broken psyche think it should. And I imagine that that's inconvenient for you. But you know what? Life doesn't always work out the way we think it should. Things don't always turn out to be what we think they are or what we think they ought to be. Sometimes we have to admit that we're wrong. Sometimes we have to admit that we don't know things that we thought we knew. That's just part of being alive. And that's part of being an honest, courageous person. Trusting your own paranoia ahead of mainstream news sources or the government or common knowledge or mainstream history, whatever, all these things that you're suspicious of. Trusting your own inner paranoia ahead of those things is not intellectually honest. It is not courageous. It is not smart. It doesn't make you better than other people. It doesn't make you not a sheep, because apparently you're so terrified of being a sheep. Oh, I can't listen to what the mainstream media tells me. I can't accept what science tells me. I can't accept what the government tells me, because that makes me a sheep. You know, I have to reject all of that. But if you find something on some asshole's blog on the internet that is completely unverified, that is completely unchecked, completely untestable, completely unsupported by anything that we know, oh, accepting that at face value, that makes you smarter, doesn't it? That makes you hipper than the rest of us. That makes you a lot sharper. Oh, they won't ever pull anything over on you, will they? No. What are you suggesting about Sandy Hook? What are your claims? What are your conclusions? Like, let's just say, for example, that the photograph, the family photo, where with the girl with no legs, let's just say that you're right about that. Let's say that you're onto something there. You know, maybe the kid's hands were fucked up for some reason. Maybe the picture was photoshopped, and they did put the girl on the daddy's lap without legs. Now, I have no idea why the perpetrators of this conspiracy would do something like that. I have no idea if they have the capability to manipulate the entire news media of the world into believing that this tragic shooting took place and that it was as they say it was. And they have not only the media, but the police department, the federal government, all of these agencies in their pocket. They're that powerful that they can pull off a hoax like this so convincingly. Why they would fuck up a Photoshop of a fucking family photograph, I have no idea why that would happen. I have no idea how that is remotely plausible. Especially given how incredibly powerful this organization must be to be able to pull off events like this. But you know what? Whatever. I'll give it to you. Let's say that the Photoshop picture is actually evidence of something. It's real and you're really onto something. What now? What conclusion have you drawn from that picture? What's the next step? What do you see when you see the little girl going like this, making the devil sign? What does that tell you? That she's a big fan of metal? That she worships Satan? That the people who staged the Sandy Hook shooting, that they worship Satan? That they're not only anti-gun totalitarianists who want to impose tyranny on America by taking away our guns, and they created this Sandy Hook shooting as a pretense for that? Not just that, but they also worship Satan. So not only have you got evil, shadowy globalists, you've also got Satanists. And I assume that you believe that Satan is a real thing, right? It's not just that they worship Satan because they're kind of fucked up and deluded. They're really truly evil people, and they really worship a real Satan. Is that how it works? I mean, the Bohemian Grove thing, that wouldn't be such a big deal for you guys if you didn't think there was a real Satan that these people were worshiping, right? If there's no Satan, if it's not real, if the ceremony there is just a bunch of bored rich guys coming up with elaborate trappings for an orgy, it's not that big of a deal, is it really? Oh, look, rich people are doing something eccentric and weird. Oh my God. But if it's satanic, if it's satanic, well then that's something to worry about, isn't it? Isn't it? Because I guess if you're so fucking credulous and stupid and uncurious that you can believe in alien abductions, or you can believe in global Jewish conspiracies where these Jewish-owned banks run the world and run the governments and run the media, and you can believe that things like crop circles are not hoaxes. You can believe that there are chemtrails and that HARP is a dangerous thing, and that the government has this impenetrable, invisible surveillance net, and they're watching all of us at all times, and they're planning on taking our guns, and they're planning on imposing martial law and enslaving all of us, and those FEMA trailers are there because they want to put us in those, and we're going to be prisoners and slaves, and this is all about to happen any time, even though you've all been going crazy about it for like 30 years. But anyway, any moment now it's going to happen. They're going to take our guns. Any moment. We've been saying it for 30 years, but any moment now it's going to happen. If you can believe all of that, I guess believing in Satan isn't really that much of a stretch for you morons, is it? It just kind of, oh yeah, of course, and also worshiping Satan, that's part of it too. I find it impossible to articulate my hatred for you. I absolutely hold you beneath contempt your ideas, your methods, the way you think, or should I say the way you don't think. It is an offense to everything that I love, everything that I respect, everything that I would hope I would be at my best. You are an absolute offense to all of it. You have nothing. You have insinuations drawn from what you believe to be the odd reaction of a father of a murdered child who is going in front of the news media to make a statement hours after his child was murdered. And, oh, he's not acting right. There's something funny about that. He's not behaving the way we would think that someone like that in that situation would behave. Just like Mark Bingham calling his mother from the plane on 9/11 that was about to crash and kill everybody. Oh, look, listen, did you hear that call? He said, "Hi, Mom, this is Mark Bingham." Who talks to their mother like that? Who says their full name when they're calling their mom? You got that all figured out, do you? That's just a little funny to you. You know, you caught that. The rest of us were too dumb. The rest of us are just sheep that were just pulled along by the mainstream media and by the Bush administration, which we all fucking loved so much. We were just pulled along by that, right? But you were smart. You figured it out because that guy used his full name when he called his mom. And no one would ever do that, right? You know that because you've been in that situation, have you? You know that a grieving father wouldn't possibly act strangely in front of media cameras going out to make a statement in the immediate aftermath of the slaughter of his child. You know that he wouldn't, you know exactly how he would behave, don't you? Don't you? You know exactly how he should behave. And if he goes even a little bit outside the lines you've established in your fucking head for some reason, I don't know what those lines are drawn based on, but you've got them there, and if he goes outside of those lines at all, aha! He's an actor. He's a disinfo agent. He's part of the conspiracy. He's a fake. He's not real. His kids weren't even real. There were no bodies. I mean, do you understand how awful and offensive you are? I don't think you do. I don't think you do. I don't think you understand shit, to be honest. I don't think you understand where the water goes when you flush the toilet. Do you think that there's like a dimensional portal under there? That like there's a black hole where the water goes away? Or do you think maybe Obama steals the water and he's trying to sequence DNA from your urine so he can clone you and then we're all going to be replaced by clones? Maybe that's it, huh? That could be it. Can you prove that that's not what's happening? Where does the urine go? What are these water purification plants, quote unquote, that the government has set up in all these towns? What's really going on in there? Do you see how easy it is? Do you see how easy it is to just follow bullshit paranoia trails wherever they go and then ask other people to prove you wrong? Demand evidence from others that you're wrong? That's not the way it works. There's a reason that it doesn't work that way. There's a reason why we do things scientifically, why we make claims and then we try to prove or disprove them. You try to disprove them, actually. If you had any guts at all, you would make your claim and then you would try to prove it wrong. Because that's what scientists do. They make a claim, they form a hypothesis, and then they test it. And when they test it, they're trying to figure out ways that it might be wrong. They're not looking for confirmation, they're looking to see if they can prove it wrong. And if they can't prove it wrong, if they try 100 different ways, and they try every way they can think of to see if this might be wrong, and they can't figure it out, then they think, you know what, maybe it's right. And then they show their data to other scientists, to other investigators, to other researchers, and they say, hey, here's the thing, here's what I think it is, here are the tests I did, I think that this is true, but why don't you give it a shot? And then other people try to prove it wrong too. And until it has been tested and tested and tested, and not proven wrong, until then it is not accepted as a fact. It is not accepted as a good working theory until it has been established by rigorous, repeated testing by multiple people. That's how it works. It doesn't work the way you think it works. The way you have it working, it doesn't make you smarter than the rest of us. You are not smarter than science. You're not smarter than the dumbest scientist on the planet. You're not smarter than that person. Even if that person is a conspiracy theorist, you're still not smarter than they are because they know how science works, at least theoretically. You don't. You demonstrate that you don't. You demonstrate that you have no clue how it works by the way you behave, by the way you act, by the way you attack a problem that you perceive that actually isn't even there. You have no idea what the fuck you're doing. You have no idea. You are the absolute perfect example of incompetence. You are incompetent. In the most literal possible sense of that word. I mean, usually we use incompetent to mean, we have these very lazy ways of using words in the English language, and it's fine, I think it's great. And we say someone's incompetent when they're a fuck up, when they don't know what they're doing, when they do the wrong thing over and over again. But if you look at the literal meaning of incompetent, it means you are not competent. You are not fit. You are not capable of doing the thing that you are trying to do. That's you, Sandy Hook conspiracy theorist in general, but Sandy Hook conspiracy theorist in particular, since I'm talking about you guys in this video. That's you. You're incompetent. You have nothing. You have no game. You have no skill. You have no intellect. You have no idea how to use what little you may have. You're nothing. You're an embarrassment. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to actual investigators, to actual detectives, to actual scientists, to actual historians, to all of the dead who have died in the events that you continue to trivialize by chalking up to your paranoid fucking childish fantasies. You're a disgrace to those people. You're a disgrace to your species itself. You are absolutely a disgrace to the human race. And that is not hyperbole. I firmly believe that. I promise you. I'm not just saying that because I'm some hyper asshole on a YouTube video. Those of you who watch my shit regularly know I'm usually not a tenth as excited as this. But there's something about the Sandy Hook conspiracy theory. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. It's because it's stupid and it's irrational and it's ghoulish, and it only serves to boost the confidence of people who don't deserve to have any confidence in themselves, because they're fucking incompetent losers. They walk around, they look at the world, they see things like fucking Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind, and they think they see all these connections and they've figured everything out, like they can see behind the veneer. The world is like the Matrix to them. And they're looking at the screen with the little green numbers falling down, and they think that they see that, and they think they've got it all figured out. And in fact, they've got nothing figured out. They know nothing. They think they know way more than the rest of us. They know shit. They know shit about shit. And usually I'm happy to ignore them. Usually when they leave comments on my videos, when they broadcast their bullshit on the internet, on YouTube or Facebook or their blogs or wherever, usually I'm happy to ignore them. I mean, I delve in every once in a while because conspiracy theories in general are kind of fascinating to me, because I wonder, for the same reason I wonder with religion, how the fuck can people believe this? How can intelligent people believe this shit? And every once in a while, something like this comes along, and it just sets me off when I think about it. And I let a few days go by, I let a week go by. I thought, I'm not going to talk about this. I've already mentioned it, I've already made fun of it on another video. I've already talked about why I have a problem with it. I'm just going to let it go. You just can't let it go. I just can't let it go. And if you are a Sandy Hook conspiracy theorist, if you do honestly believe that those people were not actually murdered, or that they were murdered but it was part of a government pseudo-op, fuck you. Fuck you. Not because such things are completely beyond the realm of imagination, not because the government is always to be trusted, not because we have no reason to doubt that such a thing could ever happen, because there's no evidence that it did happen, and because you had decided that it happened when the evidence for what actually did happen was barely in the first place. The evidence is irrelevant to you. You see it and you react. You think, oh, that's a pretense to repeal the Second Amendment. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're a waste of breath. You're a waste of whatever it is you have. Anything that you have, anything that you are using to stay alive, you're a waste of that material. You're a waste of the atoms that constitute you. You're an embarrassment to me. You're an embarrassment to me.